Hi, this is Richard Harvey, the Creative Warrior, and I'm here to introduce my awesome friend, Martin Espino. And I'm going to talk with him today about how mindful awareness has influenced him. And I would love to give a full introduction, but I don't think I could quite fit it all in. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to start off, Martin, and tell us who you are and what you do. I will tell everybody that we have collaborated on creative projects, and that's how we initially met. And it's been a great experience for me, and I've learned a lot. So I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to learn what how he's grown through mindful awareness. Want to get us started, Martine?
Yeah, good afternoon, and hello, everybody. And yeah, well, let's see. I'm basically a musician, so I play live and play online. And I've been amassing a lot of great equipment to get all that done. So if anybody likes that kind of thing, we do it online, as you can see here with Zoom and really great sound, and try to do the best we can with the circumstances we're given. Even live, the same thing. You always do with what you're given. So that means that takes care of the performer part. I'm an educator. I call myself a cultural educator because there's so much missing that's just not with the music. It's you have to add. You can't talk about the music without talking about the culture and the history and geography and the language and the foods, and it gets all that, especially when you have time, like when I do residencies in schools and stuff. And so that's part of the educational thing I do with adults and kids.
I'm going to try not to interrupt, but in terms of, you said you're a cultural educator. Can you tell a little bit about what cultures you help people learn about, please?
Well, the one I know about is Native America, you know, and what I've learned in the long run is that this relates to something else called diversity. I don't really believe in the diversity because basically, I think I've lived long enough to see that we don't have so many differences. I mean, sure, we have different languages, but you use your mouth. Sure, you eat different foods, but you use your mouth. You know, you have a stomach, I have a stomach. I speak English and Spanish, and then you might tell me, like one time somebody told me, Martin, I really can't pronounce those words. I don't speak Spanish. And I said, brother, you have the same 42 muscles in your neck that I do. You know, it's just a matter of getting used to it. That's all. And we're very pinned in here in the U.S. You know, we like to think that we're the only ones around and nothing else is happening except us, which affects our attitudes too. You know?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
It's like there's an outside and other thing going on, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm not speaking from any kind of belief or any kind of movement that I'm part of. I'm just talking about OG observation. Just things I've seen. And how many times have I seen it? 30. How many times have I seen that? 20. How many times have I seen this and heard about it? 70. And I go, man, things are wacky right now. But see, that's where the music and everything else comes in. I teach particularly about my culture, which is ancient Mexico, and so many of the things that we do that now come from those times. Even the foods, you know. Um, yeah, there's a lot of beautiful things and a lot of funny things, and a lot of sad stuff too. Oh God. So I hope I answered that one right. Yeah. So I have to include a lot of things. One of the reasons to answer that even better, Richard, is that when I'm in schools, um, I've learned to cover everything. You know, because they're not covering it really, or they do cover it, but then just a few of them are doing it. There's places where they don't cover it at all. You know, I mean, it meaning a whole lot of things about cultures. Then there's the other barrier is that, hate to say it, sometimes it's the teacher. They have an
yeah.
opinion. They go back
Or
to class and they, like I had one class one time, and the teacher came back only one time in my whole 53 years. Martine, we're not going to be coming back to your third session. I had 3 sessions with him. I go, why? Because, well, because you used turtle shells, and we don't believe in killing animals, and you were also singing war songs. And I said, what? I told you specifically it was a warrior's song, and warriors are also like police. They keep the peace. They protect. Just like, and I even made the analogy to parents and older brothers and kids, and you misinterpreted it as that? I mean, what a nut. And I even explained the turtle shell thing, you know. I go, you do the same thing. How you did this to the animal. I go, oh, don't forget, you're probably going to go home and have fried animal skin. Oh, that's awful, Martin. Oh, I'm sorry, they call it bacon. But anyway, it's these things, the way I couldn't believe this lady thought that way, you know?
Yeah.
And it was very negative, and I could tell now that I look back on it. I thought, man, it reminds me of some of the stuff that's happening now. This lady already had it in gear, and went back to the class, and they discussed what they didn't like about any of that, and that's never happened. I'm talking about one instance right now, and that's never happened in any of the work I've done over all the years I've done it. You know, and to be an observer is very important, and because if someone really wanted to call me out on something, then they had to come and tell me, but in this case, if you go to all three of my classes and you decide not to go to one of them, then tell me, okay, fine, that's good. But if you go to all three and then you talk behind my back or say something, and wasn't that kind of icky what Martine had? Oh, yes, don't you agree? Don't you agree? You're feeding it to him.
Mhm.
But you're saying, don't you agree? How about saying, don't you disagree? Does anybody disagree? People don't talk like that, right? You know that. How are you doing? What's the first thing we say? Not bad.
Yeah.
You can say, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing cool. I turn that stuff around right away. I don't buy into those things, those self-deprecating things, and that make us look, down at other people, and see how they are. That I told you, that's how they live.
Yeah.
They're different. They're not different. You just don't know how we live, or how some, or we don't. I don't know how you live, or whatever. But that's why I don't believe in diversity. So that's why I come in and teach a lot of the. I always tell people that I think I've lived long enough to tell you that I can talk about commonality. We have so many things more in common than we do in differences. And
Great.
I start naming a whole bunch of them in a real sarcastic manner, and everyone's
Mhm.
busting up, And I'm going, well, you're diverse if you have horns on your head, and I've never seen anybody with horns, and your brother's got wings. That's pretty diverse, man. That's diversity. You speak with mind telepathy and don't use language, and you can understand. I can hear you in my head. I don't know how I'm doing it, but wow, you must be affecting me. No one talks like that. That's real diverse. That's diversity. But if you speak to me in another language, all I got to do is learn it.
Mhm.
So that's why I don't. To me, diversity is like, it's like, I'm going to give a stoner definition. Hey, man, it's like a word that tells us, like, to divide everybody, man. Divide diversity. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
To me, it's like a sneak attack on everybody. We think we're teaching diversity in respect of other cultures, but we're teaching how different other people are.
Yeah.
You know?
Let me bring us back to the mindful awareness and how you got into it, because you're doing this wonderful work now, and I want to kind of lead us back to where how you're doing this work now. How it influenced you, and you don't mind sharing about your childhood a little bit. How did you find mindful awareness?
Well,
What, why did you gravitate towards it?
number one, I had to look up the word because I'd never really looked it up. And I thought, mindful awareness, I gotta look this up. I know what it means, in the vernacular when we talk about it, And I go, that means the same thing as meditation. The things that they're talking about in the definition, it's meditation. Unless there's another meditation that doesn't teach you how to be in the here and now.
Mhm.
The one I knew when I was 11. I'll start when I was 11. I was going to. This is funny because I know you know this. I was in Catholic school. So I'd get out at 3 o'clock and I'd come home and make it just in time to watch this weird show where it was like all dark, and there was a lady sitting with her legs crossed, and she had her hands like this, and she was going Yanaki. To this day, I still never looked up what that word means. Yanaki. That's weird. But I liked strange things. or things out of the ordinary. So I was obviously attracted to it because I was already watching science fiction and strange B movies from the 50s because my brother got me into it.
Mhm.
Which later on I found out just recently that it was my mom that got him into it and got me into it. So that's really important to me. Because she dug that stuff, you know, and it was all the way from the strange sounds, the sine waves, and the white noise that the spaceships made, and all that stuff like that. And so when I saw somebody sitting down chanting, I thought this is not too much different than what I've seen already on the Outer Limits, you know, and Twilight Zone, all this, the moods, the different kind of mood it was. And this show, they never, to what I remember, they never explained anything about what they were doing. It was some kind of a yoga meditation show. And I remembered a voice over the screen going, relax your feet. And this is what based all my meditations on. Relax your toes, relax your feet. Constantly breathe. Breathe in and out through your nose. Relax your legs, relax your thighs, relax your stomach. Relax your heart and your lungs and slow your breathing down. Doesn't that sound like meditation? You know? And they never explained why. They just were saying that. And then they would go all the way to, you know, when I do it live, I say, let it go from your heart to your mouth, not from your heart to your head, because your head might go, wow, I'm kind of embarrassed sitting here looking. Is anybody looking at me? I say, let it go from your heart and let it go straight to your mouth. And then exhale all that
Mhm.
and relax. And that's how I do that. And I used to watch that show all the time. And I found myself doing some of this. And the funny part is my mom never came in the room going, ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué es esa cosa rara? What are you doing? What is that? That's weird. Mother, she never, now that I think, it was just weird. They never came in. I was watching in the front room, and she'd be up there making tortillas, and I could hear her, you know, doing the tortilla things and making the food. And here I was watching a meditation program, you know, and I was going to Catholic school. They could have said, "Don't watch that. That's another religion." My mother and father weren't that way. Then after one time I left it on. I think I left it on, and I was started to do some homework, and I forgot to turn the TV. Something like that. And this guy starts coming on and talking, this English guy, and he starts saying these wonderful things. I went, wow, who's this guy? And my name is Alan Watts. And it was Alan Watts that used to speak right after Yannicki.
Mhm.
And so I started watching the Alan Watts show, and I started going out and buying, checking the books out of the library, you know, the Art of Zen and all that things. And I was already questioning all these things long time before that, you know. It wasn't just the 60s that brought it out, it was me. It came out of me, a desire to check the beyond,
How old were
something
you?
else. Well, I started meditating when I was 11, so I was probably already watching this when I was 9 or 10, you know. But definitely by 11, that's kind of like the age I put. That's when I started playing music. So I must have, I know it was right around that time because I had a real spiritual relationship with music. Still, I mean, I still do. Um,
Definitely.
you know, back then it wasn't. Uh, I'm cool now if people, oh, Martine, you're so spiritual, and I'm like, been that way forever. I mean, it's like saying you're so one part of yourself. I go, no, there's like several parts. There's mental, there's physical, and there's spiritual, and whatever else that I might have left out. You know, I'm not just one thing. You know,
Mhm.
and but it's so funny because we're so lacking in spirituality that when you see or hear something I might say or the way I play music, you go, wow, this guy's like, you know, he's from somewhere else. I go, no, I'm a Mexican kid from South Central on 81st Street, you know, who watched the riots, and you know, my brother would pick me up and show me the buildings burning, and that's where I came from, you know, and but somehow I questioned reality, you know, and questioned the here and now and what was existing and the doctrines of the day, and I found out as time goes on, as you most of you out there all know, is that a whole lot of people started doing that when they started, you know, it took them on their path when they started questioning. It was really interesting when I read about the ancient Mexica, or the mistakenly called the Aztecs, that they would, the people that they would choose to become priests or like shamans, or for lack of a better word, getting tired of that word, but that is that they would pick people kids usually that were what would they say? Kids that were concerned with what was above and what was below. In other words, questioning the universe. And those are the perfect ones to bring in and show them what to do. Crazy, huh? Yeah,
Makes
so that's what
sense.
got me into that. All that those two shows, that thing with Alan Watts, and when I was playing music, and at the same time I'm 11, right? So I'm being told, close the garage door, take the trash out, pick up the dog, take him in the yard, lock the gate, and then and I wouldn't do something, and my dad might say, Martin, you're supposed to do that. Oh, I forgot. How can you forget? Okay, Dad, I'll do it, and I do it, right? And then you start learning that chores are. Oh, I gotta wash the dishes. Oh God, I gotta lock the gate. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I gotta hang up the phone. And Alan Watts took things like chores. When you have chores, make them into a music. And at that time, I'm learning music, so I thought, wow, music pleases me so much.
Wow,
If I
that's cool.
if I turn everything, yeah, he said it at the right place at the right time when I'm learning. So I turned everything into a music. You know, all my schoolwork, and that right about that time, um, a little while, let's see, a little while later, that stuff sunk in, and I started applying it to my schoolwork, and I was doing like F and D, and all of a sudden, I graduated with a B plus. I applied myself because of all those things. When I went to college,
Wow. Wow,
yeah,
that's very instructive.
when I went to college and I played classical guitar, I'd sit in my room going, ding, ding, to make sure that when I struck the string with my index, that when I struck it with my middle, it would sound the same. So that when I played fast, instead of dun 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 dun, like hard soft, hard soft, hard soft, hard soft. I really worked on my ears, and I basically meditated for 6 hours, just playing the note and then speeding it up until I got speed like that. And I learned a lot that helped me get through everything. That's what get me to me. That's what got me through graduating with honors. You know, yeah. And so there's my long answer. Best I.
I really appreciate it, especially what you're
Thank
talking
you.
about, the music, making music, and then going back to how that relates to the, when you were in college and practicing. And it seems like you could apply that to anything in life. I know that your parents were pretty understanding and supportive. I mean, how did your peers relate to your practice when you were discovering this, where you're becoming
I
aware? I mean, if you have any comments on that.
too. Well, I do. I have always something. My mother says you always have something to say. I go, that's right, Mom. Now be quiet. Jimmy hit me. Oh, she had a good right arm, man. Her worst weapon was the broom. That's a Mexican woman's worst. The sandal or the broom. You don't
I
want that.
thought maybe she just fed you some of those tortillas to shut you up or something.
No, 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 no. That was something that's it. Just give him something that he really likes. um, but, what was your question again?
Oh, just how did your peers relate to you
I never
discovering?
really spoke to them. Not now that I can. Now that I sit back and try to recall, I asked myself that the other day because I never really spoke to them about what I did. Sometimes I would. My close friends, I would talk to them, but they were all people who were sort of like me too. You know, like my best friend from that time when I was 15, Gil. He's a guitar luthier in New Mexico. He just built me a new guitar, so it's coming soon. A fretless 7-string baritone. It's like a oud from outer space. And but he still thinks the same way. He's a very cosmic cat. And my other friend Lorenzo was the same way. We were all just always thinking about odd things and talking about odd things, and we liked odd music and things that were just outside the regular norm. But I never really discussed the meditation or the spirituality very much. I can't think of even an instance when I discussed it. Not even with my mother and father. I just didn't say anything,
Mhm.
and nobody asked. That's what kind of a kid I was. I mean, I was really funny. I didn't question a lot of things, and I just did them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you stuck with it over all these years of
Because
it's
it's a natural condition to be able to it's in a like if you sneeze, you sneeze, you put your hand up here, or you go or you try not to make too much noise. You make that adaptable so that you're acceptable within a group, or you want to pick up something from can I move this, is this yours? We learn these social things that we do, and I think meditation is just another one of those things that we do, if not just like by a social thing, but by an automatic a part of existence, that we have to at some point sit down and do a self-reflection. We have to sit down and recharge. Just like I think I need a quick nap. Let me close my eyes just for a second, okay? Just give me a second. Okay.
and
Sometimes
in
you can
that
do it that quick.
second, let's go to that second for a minute. And what is, are you thinking, or are you
Nope.
observing, or what is that second? What is that?
Meditation has turned me since I was 11, right? Because I'm 65. Meditation has told me to do this. Your screen's gone. Everything blank. Everything shut off.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I can shut it off like that if I need to.
For those people who might be concerned about this, do you think meditation is religion, or is it
No.
just a good?
It's like
I'm
saying, "Oh, when I go to sleep at night, I recharge my battery." Wait, is that religious? No, it's sleeping.
yeah.
Well, what about relaxing when I want to recharge and get my? Is that religion? No. Well, if you apply religion to it, then it becomes religious. But like I said, I think it's a natural condition for us to that we need to get back. That we need
Mhm.
to we should all be able to sit down, shut up, like Alan Watts said. We need to shut up and all the noise off, just so we can stop and make a good decision eventually, or just stop. Like I got to talk about that one thing that he said. He said, if you're going into meditation thinking you're going to make yourself better, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing it so that you can just learn to stop the noise, because the noise gets in the way of everything. It makes you, well, they're pressuring me. I got to make a decision. I go, you know what? You're pressuring me or whatever. Stay back. I'm going to go off on my own. I'm not going to think about this shit. Let me think about it later. Right now, I'm not going to think about it. Turn off.
Mhm.
Come back later, and my thinking's a little clearer. And then, so funny, you read later on what the benefits of meditation is that when you do that, when you learn to be in this here and now, mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, it's like when you learn to be in this here and now, you learn to yeah, you learn to shut off things, and somehow, I don't know how, I can't explain it good. Somehow, when you shut off, it's like a river, and you're standing in the river, and you could feel the water of the river pushing you along, but you don't want to get pushed, so you suddenly stop the river, and you don't feel the water pushing on you, and you cross, and you're on land, and you turn the river back on, and you're back in this world of your concerns and of your jobs that you need to get done, but that you're able to stop it for a while. You need to be able to stop it.
Mhm.
All
I
these
love that. I love that you're describing Alan Watts creating, the things that you're doing, comparing them to creating music, and then the noise, stopping the noise. And yeah, I mean, who doesn't appreciate beautiful music, and who isn't ready
Yeah.
to have some
If you
quiet,
want to, if
when
anybody
there's
wants to
noise?
check, yes, if anybody wants to check into it, there's a long version. I think it's a 3 or 4 hour version. There's also a short 18-minute version. It's called Alan Watts: The Art of Meditation
Mm,
on YouTube, of course.
thanks.
Hmm.
Do you think that
Yeah.
there have been any stages for you in your life in terms of building your practice? Can you, as a in awareness and mindful awareness, meditation, whatever you want to call, like not necessarily gonna. Do you have anything that occurs to you in stages?
I
Um,
don't. I'm trying to understand what you mean. I don't quite get it. Tell
well,
me again.
I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, no. I said I couldn't understand. I couldn't quite understand what you were meaning to ask me.
has it been an evolution for you in terms of your, the word is agency, how you could, do this with skill? I mean, how has that evolved?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is I've done it for so long without questioning it, without analyzing it. Um, that's me. Because remember how I said how I learned earlier? I just didn't question things. I go, oh, is this? Oh, when I do this, I feel really good. Oh, this is a damn cool tool. I could use this later when I'm studying.
Mhm,
And other than that, I don't know how I developed it. I didn't. I should have. I should have paid more attention to it. But I didn't. But I have at my access the ability to stop and
mhm.
recharge and turn everything off when I have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another way of asking the question is, what worked for you during in practice and what didn't work, and what have you learned from each? I mean, because there's different types of learning. One is when something works, and one is when something doesn't work.
Well,
And
that's I think a little different. It's a physical reality. It's when something doesn't work, I always review and go back and try not to do it again, or I try to avoid the instance that caused the error.
uh,
You know, in other words, when you're especially when you're educating, you watch what you say. You know, you watch how you say it. You know, and you also try to remember what you said in case some clown comes over to you and says, "Well, Martine, I thought you were saying da da da." No, I did not say that. And I'll come out with my, nail riveting gun voice, and I'll be very stern about it, and I'll be very strict about it. Yeah, because I know what I said. Now, give me a couple of glasses of tequila, I might not know what I said. You know, I could probably give you the gist of it, but it's like,
yeah. Okay. How do you think that mindful awareness has helped you in high stress situations?
it's that thing I was telling you. I could turn it off if I need to. If I have a real high stress situation, forget this shit. Turn it off. And I'll just do something different. I need to work on this programming here. And sometimes that becomes a meditation or what's the other word that people use? A mantra or whatever. I don't even know what that means. But I use, let's say I'm going to work on, programming this device, and I've got to really get in there. And I'll find myself going, okay, I'm not even thinking about that monster thing that I got to take care of. That decision that I just can't make right now. You know? So that helps me. Focusing, uh, uh, I'm sorry, back up. Either shutting it out so that I could come back to it fresh and not be stressed by it, or feeling the stress and saying, I need to do something to lower the stress so that I can come back and answer that question or attack it or finish it or solve it. I think that's the best way I could describe it. Yeah.
Okay.
All that has come from the meditation stuff. I could feel it.
Has your definition of mindful awareness changed over the years?
Nope. Nope. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no other way of doing things. I mean, if you want to shut things out, you got to shut things out. If you need to be, and then there's only one place you can be. You can't be anywhere else, because if you're somewhere else, then if you're, let's say, I don't know what we have to define what somewhere else is, because mindful awareness means you're aware of the here and now. Wait, here? You mean Long Beach? No, here inside you. So I could be here anywhere. You know?
Yeah.
But then the opposite is what about the opposite of here? There? Where's there? So there's no meditation that I know of that'll teach you to be that I can meditate in San Bernardino or in the middle of the desert while I'm sitting right here talking to you. Can't do that. Hendrix could probably do it, but not me. You know? But yeah. So I mean, I think that it's always going to be me being here right now. And if I move here, I'm still here. I'm over here. I'm still here. I could I could take care of myself, do that mindful awareness anywhere I want, because I've done it for so long.
Yeah, I was just thinking
I don't
you
need to
kind
go
of
to a
you
sacred
just
temple. I don't need to have a shaman floating over my head. I don't need any of that. It's nice to have it, It's nice when you're in a whole group, but I don't need it
Yeah.
because it's like saying I don't need anybody to sneeze. I don't need anybody to write a creative poem. You know, I could do all that by myself, and that's what everybody else should ultimately be able to do. Take It's part of, like I said, I think a natural condition, a way of taking care of ourselves. Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people have this idea of what meditation or mindful awareness is. You're sitting cross-legged, your eyes are closed, your hands in a mudra, and you know, you take 20 minutes. And how do you, you know, I mean, it's what you just said is that meditation is anytime, anywhere. I mean, isn't it? I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And if somebody sees me sitting like this and doing, how come you're doing that? And I'm going, well, what do you think I'm doing? I'm going to ask you, what do you think I'm doing? You know, holding a dime? Because this is just a traditional thing. It's a traditional thing that reminds me that my energy goes here and circles back to my body. That's all. Is that religious? No, energy is. You ever felt tired, like you don't have no energy? Are you trying to tell me that, well, I don't have any energy, God's left me? No, he hasn't. You're just tired. Take care of yourself. Eat right. Exercise. You know. So I mean, that's what this is. That's to, you know, to salt keep the energy flowing everywhere. Sitting in the lotus. Well, I don't want to stand and meditate. I want to sit down. You know. I mean, I get real I just get real sarcastic, obvious inside my mind and my body. Or if someone comes to question, no one's ever questioned me, but if someone did, I probably would do that. I'm going like, why do you think I do this? You know, have you ever done it? No. Then how can you not like it? You know, it's like a little kid. I don't like steak. Have you tried it? No. Then how do you know? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and we all have that little kid in us, you know. But of course, as soon as you start doing it, you go, wow, I feel pretty darn good. And I go, well, now you know. And you do it more, and you do it 10 minutes out of the day, and you'll get pretty good at it, you know, and you'll start enjoying it. And everybody that I've ever seen that's done it, you know, for a good amount of time, they're quite happy with themselves, you know. They're they have a different vibe about them, you know. Everything in the universe vibrates, everything. But I just think it's wonderful. I don't think meditation or mindful awareness can change in any way. We're humans. We can't. I don't think we can change it any other way I can think of. You know, we have to be able to mentally shut off, mentally relax, mentally turn the thoughts off, mentally come back, mentally be here. And I think the word spirit is a difficult one because it's not this angel to me. To me, it's everything. It's me that's speaking to you right now. It's my spirit. It's my emotions about my passion about things, um, how I feel about how I exist. You know, that it goes all the way down to how I feel like I just want to really, I really want to get the heck out of here. I've felt that way for a long time. I go, well, I got to finish living my life out and take care of things and do as much as I can and try to tell people to, you know, take care of themselves. But for the longest time, I've always felt that I'm glad to be here. I'm very happy. I'm not uh, ungrateful, but I feel like I belong on another plane, another existence, another thing. And I don't know what it is. I just know it's good. I just know it's a little more comfortable there. You know, I don't know. I don't know about. That's about all I can say about it. I hardly ever talk about it, but a lot of the times I do feel like, oh wow, it's a great morning. When am I gonna get the heck out of here? Like, you know. Or sometimes I'll feel it when I'm playing music or composing something, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be doing something on the keyboard, and some sound comes out, and I go, "Oh my God, I could feel this like this hand pulling. Come on, it's time to go. No, no, I'm not finished with the song yet." It's like, you know, it's just funny. It's just funny feelings, you know. I get drawn towards this force or something. Anyway, that's me just talking about it.
Yeah. I've heard the realm of this, I don't know how to call it, mindful awareness, the knowledge described as inner resource skills. Do you have any thoughts about that description?
I think that's what I was talking about earlier. You have the inner skills to be able to turn on, turn off, stay here, come back, focus, make good decisions. You know, it starts like a ripple, and meditation's in the middle, and everything else starts coming out into you in your regular life every day. You know, and I think all those things are, yeah, I think that's all connected. You know, I hope I answered that right.
Oh, yeah. How has mindful awareness influenced your musicianship as you are? I mean, you talked about that in college when you were talking about listening to, when you're practicing
It refined
the
my listening. Yeah.
classical guitar, excuse me.
Yeah, all the music I did, every single thing, all the way till now, it influenced everything. I listen very, very keenly. You know, I'll yeah, I just listen real keenly. It's an inner resource. You know, I just pull out of the hat. You know, and I play with some musicians I hadn't played with, never played with the other day, and it's been a long time since I've done something like play with jazz musicians, and we were improvising, and they were just amazed at how I was making my instrument. My instruments don't have anything to do with their instruments, but I was making them fit in, you know. And they were going like, "Man, you walked in here and changed everything." And I go, "Well, I didn't do it on purpose. I just added to the soup, you know. I put in some, this ingredient, and you didn't have that ingredient. And that's all there is to it, you know." Yeah. Uh,
I love that. I love that description of jamming, of jazz, of music, just the soup. Yeah, it really
hmm
works.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty. I don't know. They were just really tripping out when I was playing. You
Mhm.
know, um, all these different sounds I was making while they're playing. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
if you've ever heard Dom Hamau from the group Weather Report back in the early late 70s. Um, that stuff influenced me a lot because Dom Ramal would come out with, Zawanu would be playing keyboard, Shorter would be playing the sax, and the drummers that they had over time, the different bass players, and they always had a percussionist who was from Brazil, and Dom Ramal would come out with bells on his hands, and then some tenor shoes that he'd be going blah, 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 making all kinds of bizarre sounds and stuff like that, and that was really liberating for me. You know, it taught me a lot of things. Really listening, really fine listening. You know, where do you add the note? How soft do you add it? How quiet do you add it? You know, how do you speak? You speak gently, or you speak tough, or you speak rough, and you watch your tones, and you turn everything into a melody. You learn how to shape a melody. You know, I think all that comes from everything that I've done in that whole meditation thing. I never really thought. I mean, I thought about it, and I would say things about it. You know, how much I feel indebted to all those that time. But lately, because I've been talking more about it, and people are asking more about it, I'm discovering that I'm going like, my God, this thing has affected me a lot more than I even realized. It got me through college. It made my listening skills better. It made my listening skills better so I can listen to you. You know,
Mhm.
um, anybody. It made me listen so that I could talk with you if you feel bad. And I'm going to go, wait, right now you said this, but a little while ago you said that. Which one do you mean? You know, at least I can pick things like that up. And I just think that it all made me better. It didn't make me worse. It didn't hurt me. There was nothing in it that did anything awful to me. Nothing. I've had never one bad experience from having gained this inner resource, this value, this way of being right now. You know, I think that's probably one thing that might be some of these what these other musicians are sensing. They go, they don't know this guy. This guy comes in and he's with us now, and he's playing things that are so disseparate from us, but he's making it work.
Mhm.
You know, I think all that speaks to people. You know.
I was going to ask you to define creative flow, but like this whole chat has been going as you keep on answering the questions before I ask them. But do you have anything else to add to that? In terms of, because I think one of the things I try to share in the dreamsmithing curriculum is the idea of getting into flow when people are creating, to get them out of there. I mean, you were talking about getting away from the noise, getting off the stream that's pushing you, but just being in awareness. Do you have any thoughts on that, or experiences
Yeah,
you'd like to share? I love stories as well for you. I mean, you've already described that in that jazz jam session and stuff, but
yeah, no, I just think that we just got to do what Ellen Watts says: stop and shut up, and control ourselves, and learn to stand up for ourselves. And this is these inner, this mindfulness, meditation, whatever you want to call it, it's just yoga. All those things are they're only beneficial. Won't hurt you. You won't die from doing it. In fact, it might even make you live longer. How about that? You know what I love? I got to talk about one thing that this did come up recently. I'm noticing all these sound healers. Okay, I'm not getting on them, but I kind of am, because what they do is they put sound healing. Wait a minute, are you trying to say I'm injured? I have different parts of me that are injured. Everybody has something somewhere. I need a little healing there, a little healing there, and a lot of healing over here. But there's parts that don't need the healing. So what happens to music then? And then I started looking up, the other day I looked up the opposite of healing. I thought, proactive. And I started putting proactive in my music descriptions. And I started getting a whole bunch of people asking me what that was, which tells me they don't know the opposite of healing. You know, I know the opposite of healing is hurting, but I'm talking about instead of waiting to get healed, because you're injured, and then you wait, and then you're waiting to get healed. But what if you're not injured and you just want to feel good and better yourself? Then that's proactive. So when I do music, I learned a lot from my journeys into neuroscience about intentional music. My music is for my intentions are for everybody. Um, to relax and look at themselves, examine their own cultural self. You might say, "Hey, I hear those instruments they're not Irish like I am. I hear that's not a bagpipe, that's not a bodhrán, but it's making me draw myself towards my own culture. I need to listen to my own stuff. It wouldn't hurt. I won't die. You can always go back and listen to heavy metal if you want. Fine, do that. Go back and listen to Pat Boone. That's fine. But at least you know something about who you are. Take that journey and experiment. I like one thing, I've heard it in a lot of TED Talks. There's one lady who said, she used a great word. She goes, I invite you to do this for 5 minutes. Do that meditation for 10 minutes a day. Listen to some different music. Listen to some other different culture. Eat some other culture's food for 5 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever you want to do to expand your world. That's what the whole meditation, that's what the mindfulness is, so that you can learn how to be right here. Check it out. Check it out. We're learning how to be right here. Stand here. I'm functioning. I'm aware, but I also need to move. I need to move and walk into the next room. I got to move into this next room where a bunch of people are waiting for me, and I got to make sure that I'm on. Even if they're not talking to me, I'm on. I'm aware of who I am. I'm listening to what they're saying, and I think that's what we got to teach your kids too. They walk in the room. Oh, what did they say? I don't remember. What were they doing? I forgot. We're not teaching them to go in there and listen to everything that they're saying. And I'm going to ask you something about it later. You know, homework? No, it's just called normal intelligence. I used to tell my daughter these things. Dad, you're giving me homework? No, I'm not. I'm teaching you to go out there and just be normal and wake your brain up, wake your mind up. You know, be aware. Be aware of God. I don't even know where I got that stuff from. I was always talking about self-awareness. I remember that, and I did a lot of writing on that. And I used to try to go to the libraries and and look up the books and stuff like that back when there was no internet, right? Look, I read Dream Theory with Edgar Casey and all those. I read those Atlantis things, and I read those ancient flying saucer things, and all these things just attracted me. So do whatever you can to expand your knowledge, so that you know how to be here, and you hold all this knowledge in here and all these good feelings, and you know how to disperse it when you need it, and you know how to give a decision when you need it, and you know how to take care of a problem when you need to, because you've been inside enough that you know how to, okay, I know how to take care of a problem. And again, because you need to walk into that next room or drive to the next city or get out of an airplane and ask for a hamburger, even that, all the way down to that, how do you treat people? How are you aware of the rest of the world? That's what scares me about now. I got to say this, my last thing is that all this stuff you hear about people freaking out at airports, someone, forget that they don't want to wear a mask or wear it. The fact is that they can't control themselves. So they think, I'm okay if I just let it go. Anywhere, I don't care. That's because they're not aware that they need to get themselves together on an inner level. Wait till you're like 45 years old and find out that you haven't done anything with your inner self, and you're actually freaking nuts, and you can't handle, you can't do anything, and you find yourself doing stupid things, and you can't make good decisions. And so I'm not perfect at this either, but at least I could slow some things down so I could try to get a look at what's going on. You know, it's a um, it's a very dangerous and sad time that we're on, and sometimes, so in many aspects, but it's also a very, very beautiful time, because you know now we're being aware that you see somebody acting a certain way, and they've got a suit and tie on, and they went to college, and they're doctorates, and they're senators, and you say, look how they're acting. Wow. You got it doesn't matter where you're from, where you got this kind of job or this kind of job or this kind of education or that kind of education. you know the thing is that, do you have it together on the inside?
Mm. Amen. Um,
It's a
when
big
you are,
question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
It's a big concern. You don't have to be for meditation or against meditation, or for religion or against religion. Come on, there's an inner part of ourselves that we need to get this shit together. Excuse me for the word, but I mean, I get mad about this stuff. It's just simple. Get it together.
Yeah.
Wake up. Stand up. Mobilize. Learn something. What's that thing that we always say? They say, Richard, is that we use 2% of our brains, or something like that. What the heck is the rest of it doing? You know,
Yeah.
it's collecting like internet files. It's like I don't know. But I just wish nothing but high development for everybody,
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves. Did you want to hear some of my music?
Yes. Before I do that, can you share, since you teach music, you teach musicians, how do you help them? I mean, do you share awareness practices with them when they're
These
learning?
things I'm these things I'm talking about, we get into conversations like this. Yeah. Oh, I don't let nobody get away with nothing. You know. I had a student recently that had a real hard time getting what I was showing her, and she was taking the lesson with another friend, and the friend was getting it quicker. And I just told her flat out, I says, there's people that have a hard time learning, and I'm giving it to you real slow and you're easy, but you're having a hard time getting it. But you know who else is like that? So don't feel bad. I understand exactly where you're coming from. you know. So I told the other one, stand back. I'm going to work with her for a second. And and I said, just focus. Don't get into that. I can't do this, because when you start saying you can't, so those are the kind of things I get into when I talk with my musical students, or the people that I play with. We really don't talk about things like that, because
Mhm.
we're at that level already where we just play.
From like an energetic level, what do you think mindful awareness? I mean, what are the things that you're most grateful for that it's attracted into your life?
Awareness of who it's brought me an awareness of who I am, not just as I'm Martin Espino, I live on Tantarantana address, but it tells me more about how I act, how I react, how I'm going to say something to somebody. It also taught me that I was missing certain things. One of it was my cultural self. That's the one I like. A different word that I'm sure they don't use it in meditation books, but there's to see what your people did back in 3,000 years ago. Was it any different than our people? I don't think so. Not that different, you know? So that's what starts leading me to think, God, if we could just realize some of this stuff, we wouldn't have some people going, well, he's a liar, but he's an expert in that, but he's still lying. Okay, I believe you. It's like, like the whole thing with the COVID, with Fauci. He's an expert. He got his degree in this, and somebody goes, well, he's really not telling the truth, and he's really. How do you know? You read his mind? Teach me how to read mind. I want to know about that. You know. I mean, people believe things, and I don't even want to get into this stuff, but you know what I'm talking about. Everybody out there, they know what I'm talking about. All these people that believe in conspiracies and weird little ideas and fake news and real news. I go, man, just get real, period. Get real, period. And look at how this person acts, and look at how this one acts, and look what are they really doing? But they're really helping us. No, really look at these people. You can tell deep in your heart, this person's destructive. This other person's trying to help. You know these things, but you won't know them if you don't get it together inside. You won't know nothing. You'll know a little bit. You'll know how to react. You know, it's like what they were talking about in mindful awareness is the idea of being here and now and not reacting without some kind of control to things that are out of our control or things
Yeah,
that we don't understand.
responding versus reacting.
It's like look at what's going on. You know, be straight up. You know, they taught these. What got me about my cultural self is I discovered as I started studying the music because people would come over to me a long time ago. People would come over to me and go, aren't your ancestors like wild and violent? Didn't they do like sacrifices and stuff like that? And I'm going like, let me turn the history around on you. Do you remember someone that sacrificed himself on the cross? And he even said that, or sacrificing the lamb. It's a living thing is a living thing. I know people and animals are different, but they're still living things. It's like, why are you focusing on this stuff? So when you focus on the culture, I'm not talking about these other wars and walls and weapons. I'm talking about what did we do as a people. This is so beautiful. In ancient Mexico, there was a great concern. Of course, it wasn't pervasive because you can't go every single place, right? You can't go to every single valley and every single cave in the desert and they all know the same thing. That's stupid to think that, But in these big cities like Tenochtitlan and the other cities that were around, there was a big concern with self-betterment, with learning who you are, to speak correctly, to speak the truth. There's so many people that were talking like that. Nezahualcóyotl, Cacamatzin, all these great writers, these great chroniclers from back in the 1400s, their work was recited later by scribes to the Spaniards when they asked to tell us about your past, because they couldn't say they were for us, otherwise you'd wind up in a Spanish Inquisition coffin with nails in it, but they were definitely trying to document something. And so luckily we have some documents that show that there's beautiful things in our culture. One interesting one. There's many gods that they had. No, they didn't. There's constant reference to one when you look at the writings of the official noble people that talked about it. These writings that were these sayings, these beliefs that were later, like I said, recited to the Spanish and Nahuatl-speaking scribes, and they wrote it down. Interesting, huh? Constant reference to one creator. How come they're praying to snakes and sun and they have a sun ceremony? Because think about it. If the creator, this is how we think. If the creator created all that stuff, these are just, what do you call them? I lost my word. These are just manifestations of the creator. So when you're saying thank you to the ocean and you're throwing flowers in a stream, you're just thanking the whole universe. What's wrong with that? But of course, the cultures that came in and tried to destroy started saying, oh, they're doing devil things. They're worshiping many gods. You know, and look what they came. They worship land taking, killing people, taking, you know, making money, making a profit off it, and then putting a whole cross on top of it. That's the history of a lot of the world. You know, the history of Mexico for sure. But I think it all goes back to recognizing what is good, what can be good, recognizing what is beneficial, and then you got to recognize that within yourself. Then you can look on the outside and make a better decision about who you like to be with, who you want to fall in love with, who you vote for. You know, I got a lot to say. So
Thank you. You suggested some music a little while back, and I would love to hear some of your music and share
okay,
it
I'm
with
gonna
these people. And
do a little mix of electronic with an ancient triple clay flute. Let you look at it a little bit here. It's pretty.
in terms of young people, how they can benefit
Mm-hmm.
from it now and in the circumstances that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
since you've been through this, you started off young, but I mean, what would you want to share with them, knowing what you know about what they've been through? There's a lot of people have just been traumatized in the last year. They already probably had a lot of trauma, so many of them, but now especially, it's that's one thing so many people are sharing in common. And what would you want to share from your experience that they could
That thing I
benefit from?
said earlier about self-awareness. Learn who you are, how you act, what you would say, so that you don't go, "Oh, I didn't mean to say that." Yes, you did. You know, you can't, because you can't control yourself. So control yourself. Get to know who you are, and then take all that and try to find out something about how different, not how different. Try to find something about your culture. Find out where you're from. Who are your people? How did they react? And then look at other cultures so you can go, oh my God, we're not that different. They speak Yugoslavian, but we did the same kind of things that they did, and they lived near the ocean, but we lived in the mountains, you know. And and that leads to respect of all kinds of people. We're not in a world anymore where we can go, "Oh, look at those people, look how they live. That's really gross. And look at that food is so gross. That's How could they eat that? You know, because why don't you study their history and find out why they eat that way? You know, like somebody was showing last night. How come they ate a cow's head? Ooh, that's weird. Got to remember, when our people were enslaved by the Spaniards, they gave us the leftover. They didn't give us the beef steak. They go, here's a big nice steak for you guys. They gave us the leftovers, the tails, you know, the feet, the heads, the tongues. If you go to Mexican food, you can get a lengua
Cabeza.
burrito. But yeah, la cabeza. I was watching; they were cooking it last night, and these people were actually very wrong in their culture.
Keep it.
We're trying to revive ancient cultures, and I go, well, then why are you cooking a cow? Cows aren't from the Americas. They did it with a deer. You should be doing it with a deer, and and it goes into a lot of things. This thing I'm saying comes from my cultural awareness because I learned it. I learned that red meat kills my heart. It turns into fat and cholesterol, and I stopped eating it, and it took me 3 years to get off of it, and finally cleared it out of my system. And my doctor says that I lowered my bad blood cholesterol nearly 100%. She goes, I can't tell you how indigenous you are, but that stuff will kill you. Meanwhile, they're clearing forests so they can have more, hamburger producing creatures. If anything, just do deer instead. Yeah, but yeah, we got to get to know. That's why I say get to know yourself. Get to know what's good, and then you'll understand what other people are like. We have to We can't just understand. This is a good one. We can't just understand ourselves. We have to understand ourselves, and then go look at other people, so we can understand them. So then we can understand that we're all freaking together in the same boat. You know, you can't go. There's no climate crisis when there is. You know, I've lived long enough to 65. I've seen the weather change more than it ever has in this tiny period of time.
Me too.
65 years doesn't mean nothing. It didn't change in 1,000 years. It changed like in 30, 40 years. It's not like it was when we were kids here. Very, very different. Weather's different. You know, even right now in May, why is it cold out here? It was never cold. It was always warm. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've been with you on that ride. I just, I've seen it. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So for all my kids, I would say learn who you are, then learn where you're from, and then learn where other people are from, so you can make a comparison and you'll see how much alike we are, that there's not much of a difference, and that we're all native, we're all indigenous. I love asking that to my audiences. Any native people here? And I'll see people going, any indigenous people? Same thing.
I was thinking as you're saying that the skill of being aware is an observational skill, and when you are observing what you were talking about, othering people, looking at people as being weird or different or lesser or something like that. And when you're observing those things, it's not a thinking process. I mean, it's just observing how that feels in your body, how that feels in those. It's a different kind of knowledge.
Yes.
It's not about thinking your way through it. I mean, it's like, to some degree you're thinking, but that observation gives you a whole other layer of insight and knowledge.
And then once you know about these other people that are not part of your culture, you see, a friend might say, "Look what they're doing," and I go, "Yeah, but that's normal. It's how they do these things." You know, get hip, be aware. Jeez. If anything, we can get mad about is somebody else not being aware. Come on, man, wake up. Do some meditation. Learn about yourself. Read a book. Yeah. What are books? The world is sound. Everything is sound that's around us. Everything makes a sound. If you don't hear it, it makes some kind of a sound. And just because we don't hear it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I like sounds that are intentional. I always walk into with this kind of music I'm going to do right now. Very, very relaxing, and that's all there is to it. Shall I do this?
Yeah. Thank you. Did you build that? Did you build that, the instrument?
No, that was made by my friend Nash Tavewa. He's I always like to say this. He's a Zapotec native from Oaxaca. Where does he live? Over in Mission Viejo.
Uh, if people want to find out about the instruments that you make or the music, I mean, how can they look you up? Thanks for taking some time and talking about this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Just thank you for asking me too. Just period, which I appreciate that, man. It means a lot to the mission that I'm on to do things. You know, trying to make some kind of effect. Sometimes it gets real lonely out there, you know, because I don't do booty music, you know, and you know, things like I don't mind any of that, but I mean, it's like that's not what I do my work on. You can always find me by just Googling my name, Martin, and it's not spelled with an E at the end. That's a French woman's spelling. It's Martin, and the last name is Espino, Espino. And if you speak Spanish, I always say, no es Espinosa porque es otra cosa. I say that because people go, Martin Espino? Okay, Martin Espinosa. I didn't say that. Martin Espino. That's why I say no es Espinosa porque es otra cosa. It's another thing. It's another thing. Yeah, and my website's martinespino.com, at YouTube and at Facebook. The handle there at the end, like, you know, youtube.com, facebook.com / then you put Martin Espino Music, and the same thing on Facebook, Martin Espino Music, and you'll find me there. A lot of videos, and hope to come to your television screens and give you some sound. And many blessings to everybody. Same to you, Richard, and thank you for doing what you're doing, because you're opening the pathways up. You know.
Thank you. Thanks for co-creating that process with me.
Opening people's minds that sound healing is not just done with a gong; it's done with clay flutes and wind whistles and synthesizers and all kinds of different things. It's not just one thing, and that sound is not just for healing; it's also for proactive, to make you feel good, so that you'll be strong enough that maybe you won't get, you know, hurt. I mean, or hurt too badly, you know. And meditation, do it. That's all you got to do. Just do it. Yeah. You start by yourself. Get some friends. Join a group. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Nos vemos.
Take care and enjoy your evening.
I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yes, I love that.